Hey there, Retro Brawlers! Welcome back to That's Entertainment, where we dive into pixelated punches and 8-bit justice. Today, we're talking about the top 10 beat-em-ups on the NES, a genre that turned your living room into a battlefield, whether you were throwing fists solo or tagging in a friend. These games may not have had the flash of the arcades, but they brought the heart, the charm, and a whole lot of knuckle sandwiches. Some of these might not have originated on the NES, but they still have a huge part to play in the history of the console, so we're going to feature them anyway. Before we get going too far though, please consider liking and subscribing. As we get more support on this channel, we'll be able to do some cooler things, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do with it. Without any further wait, let's wrap our knuckles, flex our muscles, and dive in. We're kicking things off with a stone-cold classic. Kung Fu might look primitive today, but back in the mid-80s it was revolutionary. It started off its run in the arcades, where it was loosely based on the Jackie Chan film Meals on Wheels, or Spartan X in Japan, as well as the Bruce Lee film Game of Death. When it came to home consoles, it introduced NES gamers to side-scrolling martial arts action that almost had a shooter feel. You had one goal: climb the 5 floors of a dojo and defeat Mr. X to save Sylvia. Enemies came at you in waves, and while the moveset was basic, the rhythm of timing your attacks felt satisfying. Shigeru Miyamoto and Koji Kondo both had a hand in bringing this to Nintendo, and it even helped to inspire some of the gameplay in Super Mario Bros. It's the first beat-em-up game that was released for the NES, and that's why it was so important for it to be on this list. If Kung Fu was the genre's genesis, Renegade was its roughneck cousin. This one brought the action to the streets with a more grounded, urban vibe. You could move up and down the screen, which was a huge deal at the time, and the game had a gritty brawler feel that inspired later hits like River City Ransom. It was clunky in spots, but this was one of the first games that felt like a real street fight on the NES. And while it helped along with Kung Fu in laying a foundation for the games that followed, it lacked the refinement to really stand the test of time. That said, it still inspired some of the games that followed, and it deserves to be here. Capcom took their hit arcade franchise and shrunk it down into an adorable chibi-style NES exclusive, but don't let the cute graphics fool you. Mighty Final Fight packs a real punch. You could choose between Cody, Guy, and Hagar as you cleaned up Metro City, each with their own special moves and personality. The gameplay is surprisingly deep for the NES, with an RPG-like leveling system that gave it extra replay value. It wasn't the arcade Final Fight, but in many ways it was a better NES game because it was made just for the system. It was made late in the NES lifecycle, which meant that Capcom had a lot of tricks up its sleeve to pull together some awesome gameplay and presentation. And it came out after ports of the arcade game on the SNES. This is the game that made beat-em-ups cool. Double Dragon brought a cinematic flair with its post-apocalyptic setting and a story that starts with a punch to your girlfriend's gut. Savage. The game is a spiritual successor to Renegade, which is why it has that sort of trashy streets look to it. It was originally even considered to be a part of that series before they switched up the characters and the setting. The NES version cut the co-op mode from the main story, but added a leveling system and even a one-on-one battle mode. The controls were tight and the enemies varied, even though you could only have 2 on screen at the time and they always had to be the same. And the music? Iconic. That first mission music still gets stuck in my head if I listen to it for just a few seconds. Funny enough, because of the one-player limitation, it also meant that Brother Jimmy was the true leader of the Black Warriors. Are you a bad enough dude to rescue the president? Bad Dudes embraced its ridiculousness, and we loved it for that. This port of the arcade hit lets you take on ninjas, dogs, and even ninjas on motorcycles. The gameplay was repetitive but fast and fun, and the whole thing just screamed late 80s arcade energy. The NES version lacked 2-player simultaneous play, but it was still engaging. It was also brutal, with enemies often beating the ever-loving crap out of you. Plus, getting a hamburger from the president at the end? It made it worth fighting all those ninjas. Fun fact for this one, at the end of the first stage you had an opportunity to fight another Data East character, as Karnov cameos as the boss for that level. Here's where things start getting co-op heavy. TMNT 2 was the home version of Konami's smash hit arcade game, and while it couldn't match the graphics, it nailed the gameplay. 2-player simultaneous action? Check. Playable versions of all 4 turtles? Check. Foot Clan everywhere? Double check. It was colorful, chaotic, and oh so fun. If you had a friend in this cartridge, your weekend was set. The NES version also wasn't without its other benefits either. There were levels that were designed just for the NES and Famicom, and they had bosses that were exclusive to the home systems as well. Mixed parts beat-em-up and RPG, River City Ransom was unlike anything else. It brought a weird sense of humor, open-ended exploration, and stat-boosting systems to a genre that usually just wanted you to mash, punch, and kick. You could spend money on sushi to boost your strength, or buy a book that taught you a new fighting style. And you did it all while trying to save your kidnapped girlfriend from an evil high school gang. This one was ahead of its time, and still has a loyal fanbase. It was part of the same Kunio-kun series that brought us Renegade and Double Dragon, and the series has some very powerful legs, with the newest game in the series, as of this video anyway, dropping in November of 2024. Say what you will about the difficulty, Battletoads was a beat-em-up with style. When it let you fight, it was brutal and creative. Your punches could morph into giant fists. You could slam enemies into the ground with comedic flair. And the game never sat still. It threw you from hoverbike levels to vertical drops to racing sequences. It was chaotic, but when it worked, it felt amazing. It's absolutely a true NES standout. These Toads have had an incredible time in the spotlight since their debut in 1991. They were resurrected in a 3-player couch co-op adventure with all the wit and wisecracking you'd come to expect from their modern adventure. Plus, they've cameoed in games like Killer Instinct, Grounded, and even Shovel Knight. This is what Double Dragon was always meant to be. The sequel brought back simultaneous co-op play, improved the controls, and gave us even more dramatic story modes. From fighting in a helicopter to punching your way across crumbling platforms, every level had something cool going on. The combat felt meatier, and it really delivered that 2-player arcade vibe in your living room. It was different enough from the arcade version where it stands on its own, though it does retcon the Jimmy is the main villain arc from the original game. It also pushes you to do better, as you can only see the full extent of the game at the hardest difficulty. Double Dragon 2 has had a return to the spotlight of late, with a spin-off prequel hitting virtual shelves in 2023. Topping the list is a game that sometimes gets overlooked but shouldn't: Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3: The Manhattan Project. This NES-exclusive sequel refined everything about TMNT 2. It added new moves for each turtle, more enemy variety, better stage design, and a new storyline where Shredder lifts Manhattan into the sky. It was colorful, challenging, and a perfect co-op game. It took everything great about NES beat-em-ups and brought it to a satisfying, turtle-powered peak. Since it leaned more on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon, it leaned into the wacky side of things more than ever. And it's become a happy memory in many an NES player's nostalgia palace. Obviously, the Turtles are still going strong, with games, TV, and movies still keeping them front and center of pop culture. And there you have it. Whether you're smashing foot soldiers, fighting off street gangs, or getting that burger from the president, the NES had no shortage of games that let you throw down. Which one was your favorite to play back in the day? Did we miss a hidden gem? Let us know in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching Matt's Entertainment. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and dropkick that notification bell so you never miss a trip back to the pixel past. Kung Fu might look primitive today, but back in the mid-1880s, ooh, not the 1880s, whoops! Check out our review for Arcade Paradise. It's a very fun, retro-heavy game. If you're into D&D, you can also check out our sister channel, Tellist, where we have plenty of maps on display. And we'll also be refreshing this channel with new retro reviews, so keep an eye out.